Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to my 3 takeaways episode from the Will Nitze interview that I just posted this past Monday. Will was such an awesome guy to talk to. I appreciate him taking the time to talk to me because he was actually on a ski trip out west, out in Colorado, and I was super jealous because when he was like, I'm just getting ready for the morning and doing this podcast interview and then hitting the slopes afterwards. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, can I trade places with you? Anyways, it was a ton of fun talking to Will and hearing his story behind the creation of Eat IQ Bar. And I think it's really cool because to me, some of the coolest businesses are the people who create their business because they're trying to solve their own problem and their product solves their own problem. So it solves everybody else's problem as well. And he was having his own brain issues and headache issues. So he was trying to figure out what that convenient, ready to go option was that really worked for him. And that's when he started fiddling around in his kitchen and finally coming up with the first prototype, and then it's developed and the ingredients have changed, and now they finally have an awesome product and they're selling so much of it. So you guys need to make sure you go learn about Eat IQ Bar at eatiqbar.com. You can find them on social media at Eat IQ Bar as well. I loved his stories about some of their biggest blunders with some of their manufacturing and stuff like that. So if you didn't listen to those stories, you need to make sure that you go back and do so. But for now, let's go right into my 3 takeaway episodes. Number 1 is talk to someone who's done it before. He's talked about the importance of talking to somebody else so they can help create a roadmap for you. He said that right when he formed the company, the first thing that he did, he lived in Boston, the first thing that he did was talk to every other person in Boston who was in the food and beverage service that he was now entering into, and then they could help him figure out what step 1 was, then what step 2 was, then what step 3 was. That way, when you fill yourself with a sense of belief that, okay, now I know the roadmap, then you're much more likely to take a high level of action. Because a lot of times if you don't know the roadmap, the complexity and the fogginess of the road ahead of you hinders you and stops you in your progress and stifles you. But being able to talk to somebody else and get a little bit of guidance from somebody who's been there before and help get that roadmap, you're going to take action at a much higher level. Takeaway number 2 is change the way you look at risk. This was probably my favorite thing that he talked about during the entire episode. And I knew I was going to be intrigued with it right when he said, I think people look at risk the completely wrong way. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm ready. I'm locked and loaded. I'm getting ready to take some notes. And he talked about how everybody thinks about risk in regards to what they're going to lose if they take on the said risk. So let's say if I'm going to change jobs, if I'm going to, if I'm going to quit my job, what am I going to lose? Then I'm going to lose the money. I'm going to lose the security. I'm going to lose the weekly paycheck. I might lose the relationship with my boss. I might lose the relationship with the people that I work with. Everybody thinks in regards to what am I going to lose that I currently have? This is the way to think about it. You think about what am I losing that I don't yet have that I have the potential to have, right? So he used the example in the interview that if there's an accountant and they want to go play music, they think it's risky because I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose my paycheck. But what's really risky is that they might be miserable for the rest of the next 20, 30 years being an accountant. They might risk not being happy for the next 20 or 30 years. Now, think about that. Now, it's a little bit harder to think about it because it's not tangible, right? You don't have that particular thing. You don't see the thing that you could lose. The thing that you could lose is still intangible. It hasn't happened yet, but it's still just as risky. So if we think about it in that regard, then we might be much more likely to take on a risk that could be really rewarding on the other side of things. So again, you want to think about risk, not just in regards to losing what you currently have, but in regards to not gaining what you potentially could have. And then takeaway number 3 was stay humble. He talked about that if you ever think you're the man or if you ever think you're the woman, then you're in trouble. Because if you think you have all the answers, you're going to stop being curious and you're going to stop reading, you're going to stop learning, you're going to stop researching things that could take you to the next level. So you never want to feel like you have all the answers. And honestly, a few episodes back when I interviewed Nick Shaw, he had one of my favorite answers that I've ever asked anybody, because I asked him, what's a skill or a piece of knowledge that the best version of yourself has that you don't yet currently have? And he said, I always feel like 2 years ago me had didn't know anything. And I felt like this way before. I felt like when I was in high school itself, I was the man. But then when I got to college, I was like, oh my gosh, my high school self didn't know anything. And then like 2 years out of college, I was like, oh my gosh, my college self didn't know anything. And right now I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 years ago me didn't know anything. And Nick Shaw in the interview said he wants to always feel that way. And I think that's the best way to feel, right? You should always feel like the prior version of yourself didn't know anything, because that means you've learned so much more, and you should always feel like you have so much left to learn. You should stay humble because you're never the man or you're never the woman. So again, guys, my 3 takeaways. Number 1 is talk to someone who's done it before. Because if you can see a roadmap, if somebody who's been there before can create a little bit more clarity around the roadmap that you should take, it's going to fuel you with belief that it's possible, and therefore you're going to take action. Takeaway number 2 was change the way you look at risk. Don't think about just the things that you currently have that you could lose. Think about the things that you don't yet currently have that you might not be able to gain if you don't take on that, quote, risk. And then takeaway number 3 was stay humble. Always feel like you've got more to learn. Never feel like you're the man. Always realize you need to stay curious and that you can gain more knowledge in order to take it to the next level. I hope you guys enjoyed these 3 takeaways from Will Nitze. I hope that his story inspired you. To me, the manufacturing blunder was first off the most entertaining story, but it was also just so telling. Like, things are going to go wrong. Whether you have your own business, whether you're in a job, things are going to go wrong. It's how you react to them. It's how you respond to them that determine who you are as a person, to be honest, because he was able to stay calm in the moment. I mean, I guess he yelled at them, and he wasn't necessarily able to stay like calm in regards to his reactions to other people, but he was able to stay calm in that next week. Him and his team were calling people, calling manufacturers, calling different wrapper manufacturers, seeing what they could do to come up with a solution. And if you're not curious and you don't stay calm, then you're not going to be able to find the solution to your problem. Make sure you go back and listen to the Will Nitze episode if you have not yet already. Make sure you rate the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to it if you're not subscribing yet, because I don't want you to miss any of these episodes, any of these takeaways, any of the Fitness Goal Friday episodes, because I work my hardest every single week to bring you the best guests, to bring you the best takeaways, and to bring you the best knowledge around getting closer to your fitness goals, because I want so badly for you guys to get closer and closer to your best you. So let's go make it happen.